You strong.
Yoojin thinks back to how the Breaker Guild wouldn't last long, because Hyuna doesn't like taking orders. The same goes for Sukwon Choi of the MKC Guild. Yoojin feeds water to peace as he thinks if he should recruit Hyuna to their side instead, since she would make a powerful pair with Yerim. Another reason is that he needs to have more S-rankers under his influence. Yep, 50 slots must be filled. So far, the only S-ranks Yoojin has influence over are Yoojin and Yerim. There are 48 to go. Yoojin speculates whether Hyuna would be a better mentor for Yerim rather than him. He sadly hears Yerim saying that Yoojin is not just Hyuna's breeding partner, since Yoojin will also help Yerim breed. Water from Yoojin's mouth fell out when he heard this. He immediately shouts at Yerim to get away from Hyuna, since Hyuna is obviously a bad influence on her. People around them were murmuring about how Yerim was a minor. That was embarrassing. At home, the TV show Hunter Files airs the story of Yoojin and labels him Monster Daddy. Yerim makes fun of Yoojin, while Yoojin droops, thinking he told them it should be Monster Tamer. Myungwoo comforts Yoojin, saying that he is now famous. With a title like Monster Daddy, everyone will now associate that name with Yoojin Han. He's the dad of everyone. Yoojin and Myungwoo were walking in the hall, carrying knives that need sharpening. Myungwoo is amazed that he is being lent a workspace in the armory. Yoojin says he asked a favor from the guild, since he can't have Myungwoo sharpen knives in the kitchen every night. Myungwoo reflects on how he scared Yoojin's friend then and how he passed out later. Myungwoo refers to Yoon, the Dokkaebi. Yoojin claimed that Dokkaebi was a friend who was only visiting. Yeah, a friend who visits late on a rainy night. It's a wonder why Myungwoo didn't find it sus. Yoojin says it would be nice if Myungwoo gets to know the people in the armory, since they might work together. Myungwoo admits he wouldn't want to go on more raids, so this is an excellent opportunity. Yoojin agrees since Myungwoo is not exactly built for combat. Yoojin hums as he thinks that Myungwoo will soon become an SS-ranked blacksmith, so the armory is the better fit for him. I'm guessing the stats will be the same, but the skills will be SS. Kinda similar to how Yoojin is an F-rank with L-rank and S-rank skills. Yoojin and Myungwoo reach the armory of Haeun Guild, and they were welcomed by the heat. The armory is a large place with people working on various things. Yoojin and Myungwoo walk in, and Myungwoo sees a large chunk of mana stone in one area. He was about to touch it when he was suddenly stopped by one of the workers there. The staff asks them if they are authorized to be in that area. Yoojin simply smiles at the man and asks if HR has contacted them about lending a workspace for his friend. The man then recognizes them and bows as a greeting. He says they received word that his friend has a grinding stone skill. Yoojin looks at the man's size and wonders if Myungwoo could become a blacksmith. Myungwoo's body will probably become fitter once he's used to doing these things. The staff then leaves them and asks if Myungwoo has used a blade sharpener before. Myungwoo says that he did as a kid. Myungwoo was amazed to find an industrial blade sharpener and looked at it closely. He is excited and gushes about how the machine can work for you with just a few commands. The staff says it is for the staff, so Myungwoo can't really touch them. He then leads Myungwoo to a room, saying they'll be his workspace. Myungwoo and Yoojin go inside and finds a shabby room filled with scraps and some old tools. The staff says that the blade sharpener can be used by Myungwoo. Though it is usable, the blade sharpener is obviously musty. Wow, I can't believe they're stingy. The staff leaves them to it, leaving Yoojin shocked. Yoojin tries to call the man back and asks if he is joking. Myungwoo stops Yoojin and says it's okay. The workers in the armory glare at them, and they start hearing the whispers of how that guy used his connections when they go even higher F-class awakened. Another mentions that they must cater to nepotism despite things being hectic. Myungwoo says Yoojin can't blame them because, from their perspective, Myungwoo must have pulled some strings to be there. Myungwoo smiles at Yoojin and says he is glad he can work using a professional tool and will do his best. Myungwoo is really tender-hearted. Yoojin feels terrible about this, but Myungwoo keeps a positive outlook. Myungwoo pulls on a chair before the blade sharpener to get started. Yoojin asks if Myungwoo is okay since it has been a long time since Myungwoo used a tool like this. Myungwoo says he'll try it as he takes one of the dull knives and starts the blade sharpener using a foot controller. Myungwoo and Yoojin were glad it was working, and Myungwoo started grinding the blade. Yoojin is amazed and confirms that using a tool like this still counts in unlocking the skill. Myungwoo checks the knife and says it'll work. Yoojin thinks it is better that Myungwoo uses a manual tool like this instead of the big machine outside to unlock his skill. It'll also help Myungwoo get better in the actual process. Myungwoo is feeling happy. He ties his hair up and starts grinding more knives. Yoojin tells Myung-woo to be careful, but he stops himself when he sees how Myung-woo quickly finishes sharpening one knife after another. Yoojin had never seen Myung-woo this focused before. Myung-woo looks really cool as he works. Yoojin remembers how Myung-woo is a crybaby who is easily scared and intimidated. Seeing Myung-woo focused and at ease in what he's doing is far from how he usually is. Yoojin's alarm goes off, pulling him back to reality. He says goodbye to Myung-woo, since he needs to train peace. Myung-woo looks up, realizing that Yoojin is still there. Yoojin admits he got engrossed in watching Myung-woo work. Myung-woo apologizes for taking up Yoojin's time and asks if Yoojin wants to be walked out. Yoojin reassures Myung-woo that he'll be fine, and that they'll just see each other at home. Yoojin leaves and realizes how he can't stop watching Myung-woo work. He compares Myung-woo to a fish out of water that finally managed to return to his own domain and is now swimming freely. Yoojin is sure that Myung-woo was born to do this, and that he doesn't have to worry about him. Or so Yoojin thought, because the next day, Myung-woo is lying face down in bed with many pain relief patches on him. Myung-woo groans about how it's only been a day, but he's already hopeless. While Yoojin puts on more patches on Myung-woo to help him get better, Myung-woo had to take a day off because he was sore all over. In the armory, a female staff comments about how that guy didn't show up today. Another staff says that the string puller called in sick. The female staff laughs at this and says he must be faking it. She thinks the guy must have thought it's a cushy job since he got in by connections, but after a day, he's given up on how hard it is. Another asks if someone wanting a relaxing job can pull that off, making another ask him to pull off what. The staff says that there are 1,000 knives and the string puller has sharpened all of them in one day. Wow! Myung-woo said before that he'll sharpen 100 knives daily, but he surpassed himself this time. A staff looks inside Myung-woo's workspace, and he finds hundreds of newly sharpened knives in boxes there. As this happened, Myung-woo was lying in bed, sad that he can't do any work today. You should pace yourself better, Myung-woo. A week later, Myung-woo's workspace is now filled with boxes of knives. The armory staff is looking at Myung-woo with amazement. His current progress is now at 5,600 out of 10,000. You're halfway there. A hearty meal is on the table, and Yoojin asks if Myung-woo's sharpening blades have also sharpened his cooking skills. Yerim is so amazed at all the food before her that she asks to live happily ever after with Myung-woo, and starts referring to him as Upa. Yerim cries as she eats, while Yoojin asks if Yerim seriously just called Myung-woo Upa. You should up your game, Yoojin. You're still being referred to as Adrasi by Yerim. Yerim continues eating and says that she needs to eat up since she can't have this kind of stuff in the dungeon. Yoojin remembers that Yerim has a raid that day. Yerim complains that it is so dull that she has to go to B-rank dungeons because she's only a minor. But she has to do it since she wants to level up, get new skills, and get rich. She wonders out loud if she should go on raids every day and use all her skills to clear dungeons. Yoojin warns her about this, explaining how easy it is to tell when the health is low, but it is not the same with mana. Yoojin patiently explains that Yerim wouldn't want to run out of mana in the middle of a dungeon and pass out. The system doesn't show an HP and MP bar, so hunters must be wary of this. Yoojin starts explaining MP potions, but then asks how much mana Yerim has. Yerim answers 102, making Yoojin feel incompetent with his base MP of 2. With an additional 29 from his equipment, Yoojin forgot about explaining and starts brooding at how Yerim's MP is 51 times his and still 5 times more if he counts his equipment. He laments how he is in no position to worry about her. Yerim just ignores this and looks at Myung-woo. Calling him Upa, she asks when Myung-woo will go on his next raid. Yerim suggests that Myung-woo should join as a chef and he'll be rich in no time. Myung-woo laughs at this, saying that he's not sure. Myung-woo can't say it straight that he doesn't want to enter dungeons anymore. Yoojin looks at Myung-woo's worn-out hands and asks Myung-woo if he's not pushing himself too much with the daily grinding and cooking. Myung-woo assures Yoojin that he's having a great time. Still concerned, Yoojin hands his gloves to Myung-woo and says he should use them. Myung-woo asks if it's okay, since these are expensive and an A-grade item. Yoojin makes an excuse that he hardly uses them, since it's hot, and tells Myung-woo to use them until he's done with his knife grinding. Myung-woo tears up at this and squeezes Yoojin. He thanks Yoojin and promises to never take the gloves off. Yoojin is shocked and tells Myung-woo to get off. Yoojin also reminds Myung-woo to at least take them off when he goes to the bathroom. That's gross. Although it took time, the people in the armory started to warm up to Myung-woo. One afternoon, he was feeling hot, and one of the staff gave him a towel laced with mana stone to help him maintain his body temperature. Yo, we need that kind of stuff for summer. The staff says it gets really hot in the armory, and Myung-woo is thankful for it. One night, Myung-woo finished late. He went out of his workspace and finds that everyone is gone. He sees the mana stone he was looking at before and looks closer. Myung-woo is amazed at how it can glow on its own. Yeah, it'll make the perfect night lamp. A voice shouts that he can't touch it, spooking Myung-woo upright. Myung-woo turns, saying he didn't touch it, and realizes it was the staff from when he first got in. The man explains it is an S-rank mana stone that can fetch at least 1 billion won. That's more than $760,000. I'll just buy myself a lamp from IKEA. Myung-woo was so shocked to hear this. The staff continues to explain how fully intact stones of this size are rare. The armory has left it as is for now, since they're not sure what's best to do with it. He says it's disappointing that even with a big armory crew, they don't have anyone to handle a beauty like this. The man softly knocks on the mana stone as he says this. Myung-woo's not allowed to touch it, but the staff obviously can. He says he did not mean to offend him, but an F-ranker like Myung-woo can never even attempt anything on the mana stone. The staff then changes the subject and asks if the other staff are still giving him grief for getting into the armory using connections. Myung-woo stammers a no, but the other man only continues to explain how this place is run on meritocracy. Many people must prove themselves skilled to be accepted. Myung-woo scratches his head and accepts this. The man then says that some people need the chance to shine in life. He compares it to a diamond in the rough that hasn't been polished. Myung-woo looks up at this, and the man reveals that he knows that Myung-woo even sharpened the crew's tools and that they look brand new. He's really been outdoing himself every day. He compliments Myung-woo for his diligence. The man wants Myung-woo to prove him wrong. If Myung-woo really wants to get in, he must prove that he didn't get in because he pulled strings. Even if Myung-woo doesn't have enough strength stats, gears can overcome this. Myung-woo says he will try his best and smiles at the man. Things were finally moving on smoothly until one particular moment. A door slams open and a female staff asks for Hunter Myung-woo. The female staff member has a worried look on her face and asks for Myung-woo to come with her. She says that they need to investigate the disappearance of Hunter Yoojin Han. What? Yoojin's missing? A particular little bro will blow up at this. Myung-woo's face paled when he heard this. With disbelief, Myung-woo asks if he heard it right and if Yoojin is missing. Myung-woo asks what they mean because he knows for a fact that Yoojin will be at the guild the whole day. Yoojin didn't even receive any calls from anyone suspicious. The one confirms if they can rule out Yoojin purposely getting off the grid. This would make one wonder if Yoojin did purposely get off the grid. Yerim suddenly bursts into the room and asks where Yoojin is. Myung-woo is surprised at Yerim's appearance, since he knows that Yerim has a scheduled raid for today. Yerim says she was on the way there, but returned when she heard the news. Another staff leads Yerim to where the guild master is, and they all start leaving Myung-woo. Myung-woo stops them and asks if there's anything he can do. One of the staff says that it would be best for Myung-woo to stay there for his own safety, and he respectfully says there's not much he can do in the situation. The reality dismays Myung-woo, and he can't do anything about it. It's the truth, but it still hurts to hear it. So what really happened to Yoojin? A few hours ago, Yoojin was relaxing, since everything he had hoped for was now slowly coming true. He has nothing to worry about anymore except that Peace has thrashed the place, even the couch. Peace purrs and starts tugging at Yoojin's head. Understanding how Peace feels cooped up there for too long, he decides to head down and train with Peace. He opens the door and sees a man. He tells the man that they'll be stepping out for a bit. If Yoojin was taken, this guy would be suspect number 1. For Yoojin, having a bodyguard feels like an overkill. After negotiating with the top guilds, everyone agreed to take turns sending bodyguards for Yoojin. Yoojin believes the guilds are only trying to win him over in the pretense of protection. Oh, it's for Yoojin's protection. I guess this is how those guilds are ensuring Yoojin's safety. Yoojin looks at the current bodyguard with his skill and learns that the man is a B ranker from the MKC guild. The man contacts another person in his earpiece, then asks if Yoojin will go to the training room as they enter the elevator. Yoojin says they're heading to the second basement floor. Peace goes over his shoulder and presses the B2 button on the wall. This shocks Yoojin, and he starts complimenting Peace for being clever. We all need intelligent Peace in our life. He proudly shows off Peace to the current bodyguard, but the man ignores him completely. Feeling embarrassed, Yoojin falls silent and just picks Peace up. Yoojin is surprised this bodyguard is not amazed by peace. He remembers how the bodyguard yesterday was fawning at peace. Yoojin concludes that not everyone has to like peace. No, that man is sus. Who wouldn't like peace? The elevator door opens, and other people in red suits get in. One of the guys in the red suit apologizes for the big luggage. Yoojin says it's okay. Then he uses his promising sprout skill on them to check their ranks. He identifies that the men are low-ranked to be working for Haeyeon. Now we have our suspect number 2. It kinda adds up since they can overpower Yoojin with their number. A bit suspicious. Yoojin asks them if they're from another guild. One of them answers that they're from the Bricks Guild, a subsidiary of Haeyeon. He explains they're there to borrow the training room and test some of their items. He even makes a point of saying that they passed the security check and they're not suspicious. It's more suspicious that you'll claim you're not. Everyone laughs at this while Yoojin joins them, saying they aren't. They reach the second basement, and everyone gets out, with the men in red heading to a different room. Yoojin thinks those guys were suspicious as he, and his bodyguard head in the opposite direction. Yoojin glares as he believes they're suspicious because none of them complimented Peace's cuteness. Disregarding this, Yoojin just concludes that not everyone would be comfortable with a magic beast around, no matter how cute it may be. No, Yoojin, they're also sus. I just can't wrap my head around how some people would find such rare cuteness and not comment. Reaching one of the training rooms, Yoojin lets Peace roam. Peace immediately takes a tied rope and looks at Yoojin, acting all cute. Yoojin smiles, commenting on how Peace wants to play tug, but Yoojin says he has to get ready. Yeah, it's the tug of death. You have to get prepared. Unbeknownst to Yoojin, the men in red from before are now behind him. They are holding a rope and a bottle with some weird substance in it. It was right to be suspicious. Yoojin turned his head and a red powder was thrown to his and Peace's way. The system tells him that it is the Watchman's fruit and his poison resistance activates, canceling the effects of the item. Peace was surprised at this, and he inhaled some of the powder. He growls, but then he plops down with a whimper. Yoojin screams for Peace, but one of the men clasps a handkerchief to his nose and mouth. The men in red are surprised that Yoojin is still awake. One of them says it might be a piece of equipment. Yoojin realizes that those were the men from Bricks Guild. He fights back by kicking the man in front of him. He wonders how they got in, and he manages to escape these men. One of them is so surprised, commenting on how Yoojin was supposed to be an F-ranker. He's a pay-to-win F-ranker. Yoojin makes it to the door and finds his bodyguard just outside. He yells for help, but the bodyguard punches him instead. The bodyguard tells the others to get it together and says that Yoojin must have some fancy equipment that he got from his brother. He commands them to remove the equipment from Yoojin. You are absolutely right to be suspicious before Yoojin. Everyone you come across is out to kidnap you. The man removes Yoojin's gloves and belt, decreasing his strength and dexterity stats to single digits. He ponders if MKC has betrayed them. Yoojin tries to focus and looks for a way to escape this situation. The man holding him notices Yoojin's studs and wonders if those have antidote buffs. The man forcefully removes it from Yoojin's ears, removing 29 points of his mana. Yoojin thinks back to how many times he used the promising sprout skill. Without the studs, Yoojin felt weak. Remember the lesson on MP that Yoojin gave to Yerim before? This is what happens when you lack MP. The men in red are finally relieved that Yoojin has settled down. They threw Yoojin and Peace in their big luggage, and they were confident they could get out, since they already passed the security when they came in. Before Yoojin totally passes out, he curses inside. He thinks he should have known that anyone who doesn't find Peace cute is suspicious. Lesson learned. Water splashes on Yoojin, and he wakes up coughing. His hands were tied, and before him was a thug with some sort of tattoo on his left eye. Yoojin identifies the guy as a B ranker named Wooja Kim using his skill. Yoojin tries to remember anything about the guy, but doesn't recall it from anywhere. Yoojin thinks that with a B rank, this guy might be the guild master or deputy of a kidnapping guild. Even kidnappers are in a guild now. Wooja stands up and says he feels terrible for bullying a weak F-ranker but wants to immediately get to the point. Wooja yanks on Yoojin's head and asks Yoojin to hand over the owner's token of the Horned Flame Lion. Wooja tells Yoojin that he shouldn't hope for anyone to save him and should just hand the token over. From what the man just said, Yoojin deduces that they haven't killed Peace yet, and Peace was brought with him. Yoojin comments on how Wooja is confident for someone who has the top 5 guilds and the Hunters Association after him. The MKC guild is probably behind this. The man is unthreatened and looks at his phone. He shows Yoojin how his bodyguard had been reporting to Woo-jae that there were no issues. He informs Yoojin that his bodyguard is still standing by the training room, and no one knows that Yoojin has been taken. Woo-jae is confident they'll never be caught, since they'll be gone by the time they even catch on. Woo-jae continues to be proud, because their location is on a wharf with thousands of similar containers. Before they even finish searching, they'll already be in Japan. For a kidnapper, he sure likes to let his victim know the kidnapping details. Hearing this information, Yoojin asks if the Japanese were behind this. Woo-jae smiles, saying that not precisely. It's just where Yoojin will be sold for auction. Woo-jae even explains how they'll gain half of the winning bid and a sponsorship package once they turn Yoojin over. Yoojin finally understands how they plan to sell them overseas, since they can't do it in Korea, which is the primary purpose of their kidnappers. Yoojin ponders if he'll be rescued in time. He is sure the guilds and association will get help from the Coast Guard once they learn Yoojin is gone. The main problem is when he is carried to international waters. At best, Yoojin must stall them. It really helps that he has fear resistance, which will keep him from panicking. Woo-jae smirks and tells Yoojin to just hand over the owner's token. Yoojin chuckles at this and says that he wouldn't give them the token just like that. Woo-jae is perplexed, but Yoojin says that Woo-jae just let him know how valuable he is, so there's no need to be scared since they need to get Yoojin there in one piece. Woo-jae compliments Yoojin for being smart. Yoojin raises a finger and tells Woo-jae that he just happens to be more stupid and ugly. Yoojin mocks Woo-jae that he won't be able to use the token properly even if he has it. Even Yu-Yun had a hard time with Pisto. He had the owner's token before. Woo-jae sadly knees Yoojin, clearly irritated as he says that Yoojin doesn't understand his situation. Yoojin looks up at Woo-jae and tells him that he does. He describes how he has been taken before by thugs with crappy skills. B-rankers like Woo-jae are so common that even a dozen of Woo-jae are nothing compared to Yoojin. Woo-jae lifts his foot and stomps on Yoojin. Yoojin's leg cracks on the impact, making him scream in pain. Woo-jae admits that Yoojin is too valuable and that he can only go as far as this. You're dead once little bro finds you. Woo-jae continued to step on him, then Yoojin was suddenly lifted by the collar. In Yoojin's head, he wants Woo-jae to continue. He doesn't care how hurt he'll be as long as he can buy more time before being sold off. Woo-jae drags Yoojin and opens a container door. Woo-jae says that he'll introduce Yoojin to a friend of his. He then throws Yoojin by a cage. Woo-jae says they also have a pet. Yoojin asks what Woo-jae means, then a black tentacle slithers to Yoojin, making him scream in shock. Woo-jae smirks, commenting on how Yoojin is finally getting scared. I doubt Yoojin is worried. The black tentacle belongs to a monster with yellow eyes. Woo-jae explains that the magic beast is Creek, a C-rank dungeon monster cursing its prey with poison in its tentacles. Once affected, people will end up drooling or crawling for half an hour. Woo-jae says Yoojin will still be in good shape to be sold, so he doesn't have to worry. This kidnapper likes to explain things in detail. Woo-jae pushes the container door to a close, saying that he'll give them some privacy for 30 minutes. And the door completely shuts, leaving Yoojin in darkness. This'll buy him some time somehow. In Haeyeon Guild, Yerim slams a door open and approaches Yu-Yun, who is wiping his hands. Yu-Yun says that MKC has reached out, but Yerim yanks on Yu-Yun's clothes, demanding an explanation. Yerim is angry as she asks how Yu-Yun claimed that Haeyeon has the best security and no harm would come to Yoojin. So how did something like this happen? I'm sure Yu-Yun is only calm on the surface. He's definitely angry. Delby's not showing it. Yu-Yun says that it wouldn't have happened in normal circumstances. He explains how subordinates of S-rankers who experienced dungeon raids together wouldn't betray their bosses, especially if the dungeon they raided was an S-rank. He compares this to how wild animals submit to their alphas to survive. Hunters are also instinctively bound to their superiors. It's a hunter thing. Yu-Yun says that the hunters appointed to be Yoojin's bodyguards are direct subordinates of guild masters. But what happened today is different. The bodyguard sent by MKC isn't the one who they were supposed to send. Someone in MKC squawked it at the last minute. Yu-Yun continues to explain how MKC is run by influential unawakened individuals, so the power structure is split into two. It was the sponsors who schemed to take advantage of the situation. And this just shows how Sukwon has little control over his guild. This is probably what Yoojin was referring to before from chapter 33, when he mentioned how Breaker Guild and MKC won't last long. Though it's happening earlier this time. Yu-Yun admits how he knew that the two factions were about to clash. He didn't expect one faction to partner with a subsidiary of He and Do. He also confesses that these people used low-rank hunters, but he should have been more cautious, since Yoojin is an F rank, making him not safe from anyone. Yerim gets to the point and asks what the MKC Guildmaster said and where Yoojin is kept. Yoojin says it is why he called for her, as he removes the hand on his clothes. Yoojin confirms if Yerim can use White Corpse. The White Corpse is Yerim's skill that can collect information from dead bodies. It was first mentioned in Chapter 14. Yerim's eyes leer at this, and she comments on how it smells like blood in that place. She asks if the guy is in the room and if it's the dead bodyguard's memories. Yoojin confirms and instructs Yerim to learn where they might be keeping Yoojin. Yoojin opens the room door and says that he has informed MKC that Haeyeon will be taking care of the bodyguard. Yerim comments on how this would be more reliable than making the guy talk. Yoojin warns Yerim that Yoojin must never know about this. Yerim agrees as she passes Yoojin. They always seem to compromise when it comes to Yoojin's safety. Back in the wharf, Woo-jae looks at his phone. He is wondering why the bodyguards stopped texting him. He wonders if they were already found out. Woo-jae dismisses it and focuses on getting the token, even if they fail the operation. He means that even if Yoojin dies, their priority is the Horned Flame Lion, so they'll still make a fortune. Woo-jae opens the container door and happily asks if Yoojin had a lovely time. He finds Yoojin lying face down on the floor. He taps Yoojin with his foot and wonders why Yoojin passed out when the curse doesn't have that effect. Yoojin lifts his head and Woo-jae laughs. Woo-jae asks if Yoojin fainted from all his screaming and kicking. Yoojin mumbles and Woo-jae asks what he's saying. Yoojin calls for Inky to do it now. The creek from before is now sticking atop the door behind Woo-jae. Woo-jae smirks, asking who Inky is, and he is suddenly attacked by the creek. Ha! Yoojin has influenced Creek. Woo-jae manages to avoid it first, but Inky's tentacle catches his arm. With disbelief, he looks at Yoojin, who caresses Inky's face. Woo-jae screams at how they were informed that Yoojin can only tame infant monsters. Yoojin smiles as he says that it is normal for hunters to never reveal the true extent of their skills. And with that, Yoojin commands Inky to bite the evil man. New pet acquired. Woo-jae curses at his current predicament. He complains about not being informed that Yoojin could do something like this. Yoojin smirks at how befuddled his enemy is and admits that he can do many things, even if he is an F rank. What exactly happened after Woo-jae closed the doors on Yoojin and the creek? Let's have a flashback. The rope still bound Yoojin's wrists, and the creek approached him. Yoojin was horrified by the tentacles, as he thought how he'd be okay with the curses, since he also had a curse-resistant skill. For him, the real problem is if the creek chooses to physically attack him. Yoojin stands up despite the throbbing of his injured leg. He takes a knife from his inventory, relieved he can still access it. Using the blade, the rope on his wrist snaps, and the creek flinches. Yoojin is unsure if he'll last half an hour against the C-class monster, but as he thinks this, the creek leaps back away from Yoojin. No, is the creek afraid of Yoojin? Really? Yoojin was confused about why the creek would step back, and he observed that it was terrified for some reason. The creek starts sweating, and Yoojin is dumbfounded, since he is only an F rank. The system shows Yoojin that the Dragon Slayer title and the skill Rao Chita's Bane have been activated, doubling the effects of all his skills against the creek. Yoojin realizes that this is the reason why the creek is terrified. He deduces that this title and skill he got from slaying the King of Curse, and poison-type dragons can also influence other dragon species of the same type. Oh, our MC is lucky somehow. The creek is wary of Yoojin and growls. Yoojin has no offensive skills, but he's sure the keyword's effect will be doubled. He lets the knife slip from his hand, clinging to the ground. This makes the creek flinch. Yoojin gets a vial from his inventory and tries calming the creek down by giving it a pet name. He calls the magic beast Inky. He lifts the vial and offers the creek some grounded C-rank Man of Stone. I guess those were supposed to be snacks for peace. Back to the present, Yoojin says he can't go into much detail. He can only say he got lucky, and he and Inky, the creek, just made a connection. Yoojin removes his hand from caressing Inky and points at Woo-jae. He says that he has gained a new friend thanks to him. Yoojin commands Inky to attack, and Inky lunges for Woo-jae. It's impressive how Yoojin completely tamed the creek in less than 30 minutes. Woo-jae pulls his arm to rip it away from the tentacles that got him. The tentacles snapped, and it also made a mark on enemy's forearm. Woo-jae looks at his arm, claiming that this can't stop him. Stab. Yoojin has stabbed Wu Jie in the upper arm, and Wu Jie asks what he was doing as he throws Yoojin off him. Yoojin tumbles back, but smirks as he says that even a B-ranker's body can be softened once poisoned. Humans and monsters are sturdier the higher their rank is. This makes Wu Jie red with anger as he curses. Yoojin doesn't let Wu Jie take a break and once again commands Inky to attack. Wu Jie declares it's only a C-rank monster as he grabs a crescent blade from his inventory. He swings it at Inky, beheading the magic beast, and Inky falls to the ground with a thud. No! Yoojin's new friend is gone. Just like that. Wu Jie glances at the fallen monster and laughs, claiming that that thing can't take him down. He tells Yoojin that he can't be a B-ranker like him with just a few tricks. Yoojin crouches by Inky and touches the magic beast. A purple mist emerges from Inky's body, and it envelopes Wu Jie. Wu Jie tries to threaten Yoojin, but he suddenly feels woozy. He plops down to the ground, confused about what's happening. With his whole body trembling, he asks how it is possible when he has already killed the monster, and he also claims that the curse was too weak for his rank. The system announces that the skill Final Thanks is activated. Now, tentacles are coming from Yoojin's back, and his eyes are glowing yellow. The system informs the skills and stats of Inky are transferred with double effectiveness. With the Rao Chi Ta's Bane in effect, the Final Thanks skill effects are also doubled. Does this mean it has an S-grade impact or more? Yoojin looks down at the curled-up Wu Jie as he explains that although Inky was a C-rank, when the double of the curse's effect is also doubled, it'll definitely hurt Wu Jie. Wu Jie tries to look up, and Yoojin says he shouldn't look at him like that. Yoojin's yellow eyes are still glowing, as he says all he wanted was a little peace in his life, but they just have to go and stir the hornet's nest. He grips Wu Jie's head and says it is his turn to ask. He demands where they have put his lovely little piece. Instead of answering properly, Wu Jie curses and threatens Yoojin. You're one hard nut to crack, dude. Yoojin leers at Wu Jie, understanding that he'll not learn anything from the guy. He claims that there's no need to spare him then. Venom starts to drip from Yoojin's hands. It drips on Wu Jie's head, down to his body. Yoojin has activated one of Inky's skills called Toxic Ooze. Wu Jie can only scream at this. Whoa, we should never get on Yoojin's bad side. He can be decisive when it comes to this kind of thing. Yoojin looks at Wu Jie and apologizes. He says no one can know about his skills, mainly a Final Thanks. Yoojin lets go and says they've only brought this to themselves when they kidnapped him. He wanted to avoid killing as much as possible this time. Wu Jie is long gone, and the rest of his body starts to dissolve because of the venom. Yoojin says he wished he could at least leave his body for the family. Still, he can't do that because a particular young lady can read the corpse's memories. He only hopes that the dead can understand. Whether it's Yerim and Yu-Yun or Yoojin, they're keeping a secret from one another. A door handle cracks off the door and Yoojin looks at it. He thinks he can't control his strength since Final Thanks raised his stats, as a door clunks shut behind him. Yoojin believes it'll be like this for 7 days instead of 1 hour, so he has to be careful and hide this, so that no one will notice. Remember that Yoojin's Perfect Caregiver title also turned to L rank, meaning the effects are now longer than before. Yoojin opens the skill window and looks at the skills Inky has left him. Aside from the C-class Toxic Ooze, there are D-grade Thorny Trap, D-grade Gecko on the Wall, D-grade Scratch, C-grade Weakling's Hunch, and C-grade Tentacles. The Gecko on the Wall is a cloaking skill that lets the user assimilate to the surrounding and hide, which is useful when sneaking around. While Weakling's Hunch enables the user to detect more powerful opponents, Yoojin should use those 7 days to the fullest while he still has those skills. Yoojin's leg throbs as he walks, and he is thankful that his stats were raised, making it possible for him to keep walking. Yoojin clicks on the Gecko on the Wall skill, and his presence disappears. He walks on, claiming it's time for him to find peace. The men in red suits are in one of the rooms, taking a break as they wait. Yoojin's hidden tentacles find them and start attacking them. Yoojin attacks everyone in the facility with his tentacles as he walks by. Now, that's just OP. A man wearing shades with his feet raised on the table was startled into cursing when the door thuds. He asks who's there. Yoojin has deactivated his Gecko on the Wall skill, and he was the one who kicked the door open. He answers that it's the victim they just kidnapped. Yoojin steps into the room, guessing that the man inside is the boss among those remaining. The man asks how Yoojin got free, and Yoojin instead asks where the Hornflame Lion is. Shades guy clutches the safe on his table and throws it at Yoojin. He didn't hit Yoojin, and the safe clunked to the wall behind Yoojin. Is throwing the safe really the best thing he could do at that moment? The Shades guy says Yoojin was only lucky, but an F-ranker should have just run away while he still had the chance. He says the flame-horned lion is safe in its cage, and he has the key to it. The man takes an axe from his inventory and dares Yoojin to take the key from his C-ranker's hands. The man was about to say something, but Yoojin slapped him using one of his invisible tentacles. Yoojin tells the man to give him the key and spill where the magic beast is. The man was confused and was about to ask what that was, but Yoojin once again used an invisible tentacle to slap the guy. And every time the guy tries to guess, he receives a slap. The other guy is irritated and asks why Yoojin even let himself be captured. Yoojin scratches his ear, saying it's none of the other guy's business. The man receives another slap, and Yoojin pins the man down with his tentacles. You really shouldn't anger our MC more. When will villains learn to just answer the question? Yoojin claims he didn't want to pin the man down, so he picks up the man's axe and says he has more skills up his sleeve. He threatens the man to do as he was told as he uses toxic ooze on the axe in his hands. The melted part of the axe drips to the ground, close to the guy's head. The man panics at this and says that he'll give the key and tells Yoojin that the cage is in the central area of Block A. Yoojin reaches out a hand and tells the man to give the key. Villains really like learning things the hard way. The man is trembling. Despite this, he takes a contract from his inventory. He tells Yoojin to sign the contract before he gives the key to Yoojin. He asks Yoojin to guarantee his safety in exchange for the key and asks Yoojin to promise that he won't attack. Yoojin reads the contract and adds a provision where the other guy must keep his mouth shut about Yoojin. The man immediately agrees to this, and as Yoojin signs the contract, he frees the guy. Yoojin got the key and was about to leave. He tells the other guy to behave himself while Yoojin's gone. The man glares at Yoojin, and his hands turn similar to a beast's. He dashes to Yoojin for an attack and grabs Yoojin by the neck. Raw move, dude. The guy smirks at Yoojin since he can't fight back, saying how a powerful curse binds the contract. If he gets attacked by Yoojin, Yoojin will go blind for violating the agreement. He says that Yoojin should have looked at it more carefully. He mocks Yoojin for being a noob, who doesn't know anything and how Yoojin probably hasn't even entered a dungeon before. Yoojin looks down and holds the contract in two hands. He rips the contract into two, shocking the other guy. The contract flashes purple light, as the system announces that Yoojin will be inflicted with the blindness curse for breaching the contract. This was followed by an announcement that the curse-resistant skill nullified the curse. Yoojin grasps the guy's wrists and apologizes for raining on his parade. He lets the man know he is not a noob and has more experience than anyone there. The place was then filled with the sound of the man screaming, and another one bites the dust. Yoojin steps on purplish-black goo, claiming he knew this would happen. Yoojin looks back and admits that he wouldn't let the guy live. The safe disintegrates in a puddle of sticky poison, as Yoojin says that nobody would imagine that he is responsible for everything that happened there. At most, people would think that everyone fought each other. He walks back into the hall, thinking he'll leave the other guys alone, since they didn't see Yoojin use his skills. He's sure Haeyeon will take care of them once they rescue Yoojin. Yoojin remembers Inky and goes back to where the magic beast is. Yoojin laments about how Inky has suffered. He knows that Inky will only be butchered and sold in parts if left alone. There is only one thing he can do for him now. Yoojin uses toxic ooze on Inky and thanks him for everything. A red gem was left behind as Inky's whole body disappeared. I guess Yurim could also use white corpse on magic beasts as well. Yoojin leaves and heads to where Peace is. Peace is still asleep, and Yoojin thinks about how he wishes he could just take Peace and get out of there. But doing such a thing will only be suspicious. Yoojin takes the sleeping Peace into his arms and asks it if it wants to wait with him, till everyone finds them. Peace's tongue sticking out is so adorable that Yoojin can't help but comment on it. He assures the sleeping magic beast that he'll be okay, and they should just take a long nap till they are found. Yoojin looks at Peace fondly, glad that Peace is okay. Yoojin hopes that Peace will at least outlive him. After some time, there was a rumble of rushing feet. A female staff talks on the radio, saying they found them. She reports Yoojin Han and the infant horn flame lion are at the central part of Block A. A staff shouts to get the cage open and to get the guild master. Inside the cage, Yoojin sleeps on the floor with Peace in his arms. I guess this story arc is finally ending. A staff comments on how they seem to have fallen asleep, while another calls their guild master over. Yoojin's skill, Weakling's hunch, lets him know that an S-ranker is approaching. Yoojin was woken up by this notification, thinking how he must have dozed off. He wonders if it is Yoojin who is coming for him. A man screams for his young as he slams the cage door open. With a worried look, he asks if Yoojin is okay and yells to open his eyes. Yoojin sits up, realizing that it is his brother. He asks if Yoojin is there to save him. Lil bro is really different when he's in front of his big bro. It's like he's a whole other person. Yerim and Sunghan appear with worried looks on their faces. Yerim destroys his side of the cage open, asking if Yoojin is okay. Yoojin asks if they hurt him and if Yoojin can get up. Yoojin looks at them, thinking how the entire entourage is there. Everyone's worried. So this is only normal, Yoojin. Yoojin stands up with the help of his brother, thinking about how the guild has recognized his value. His leg suddenly throbs and he stumbles toward Yoojin as he voices his pain. This got Yoojin and everyone else worried. Sunghan asks if Yoojin was hurt. Yerim asks who did it. For she'll teach them a lesson, while Yoojin tells him to wait, so that he can get a healer for his brother. Yoojin calms everyone down, saying he can still walk, but Yoojin decides. He pulls his brother into his arms and lifts him like a princess. This is like a scene from a shoujo manhwa with all the flowers in that panel. Yoojin confirms with the staff if the healers are on standby outside and commands them to be brought in immediately. The staff follows the order while Yoojin's tears trickle down his face. Yoojin thinks about how sweet his younger brother is, but at the same time, he should be treated as an older brother, not some damsel in distress. Yoojin gets in a car with Peace still knocked out in his arms, still worried. Yerim says she'll head back as soon as she finishes the investigation and cleaning up and tells Yoojin to get plenty of rest. Yoojin assures Yerim that he will. He then thinks about how Yerim will use her white quartz skill even though she's still young. Yoojin is sitting beside Yoojin and tells him they'll go to the hospital and get Yoojin a full checkup to ensure his young is completely okay. Yoojin is overwhelmed and dissuades Yoojin from this. Yoojin says they should get Yoojin a full physical while at it. Oh, is this the part where he'll be found out? Yoojin strongly thinks they can't do that, because they'll discover that his stats increase from Inky's final thanks. Left with no choice, Yoojin decides to act his way around it. He asks his brother in a pitiful voice if it's okay that they don't go. Yoojin claims that the hospital is full of strangers and doesn't want to get anesthesia that will put him under for the tests. He said all this while acting like a damsel in distress. Really? Yoojin complained about it earlier, and now he's using that card to the fullest? Yoojin is shocked that he didn't think of this. He apologizes to his brother for being thoughtless and says he will get him home. The driver immediately understood and said he'd make a U-turn right away. I think the driver's Sunghan, but they didn't really show who it was. Yoojin looks at every part of his brother closely while asking if Yoojin is sure he is okay, and Yoojin reassures him that he is. Yoojin sniffs at his brother and says he smells something fishy, like something reptilian, coming from Yoojin. Yoojin pales at this and curses inside at how keen his brother's nose is. He makes an excuse that they were on a wharf before, so it is probably the smell of the ocean. He assures his brother that he will shower once they get home. He also activates his stealth skill, Gecko on the Wall. Yoojin then comments that Yoojin is probably right since he no longer smells it. That's one helpful skill. You could literally stop taking baths if you have that kind of skill. After that day, MKC was suspended from bodyguard duties for the time being, and the security in Hyeon was beefed up. Each guildmaster must personally send information about the bodyguards each time one is dispatched. And as for Yoojin, he was dreaming one night. Like any other dream, it doesn't make much sense at first. He dreamt about being stuck in a cage. Yoojin sees himself on the other side of the cell, a scene where he offers himself some ground mana stone. Woojay approaches him on the floor. Then he attacks Woojay, and finally getting slashed by Woojay. The last scene was seeing himself watching from the floor as he dies. Yoojin wakes up from the nightmare of the scream, realizing that it was all a dream. He looks at Peace. He touches his head as he realizes what happened is from his skill. Yoojin curls up, thinking about how he inherited Inky's final memories. That's one nasty side effect. Yoojin gets up and takes a water bottle to drink. He thinks about how he has frequently experienced this kind of thing before, but has forgotten it. It hasn't been that long since he turned back time, and he knows how low rankers used to drop like flies. In Yoojin's past life, he was always getting traumatized that he would spend weeks drunk and holed up in his room. There was even a time when many people broke into his place and he got dragged to rehab. Yoojin thinks about it now and ponders if Yoojin sent those people to help him. Getting a shot to right his wrongs has let him see things more broadly. Yoojin dismisses those thoughts, thinking it won't happen again, since the S-rankers under his influence won't die easily, except for Myung-woo. Yoojin then realizes that Myung-woo is not in his room and wonders where Myung-woo went at this hour. In a different room, the sound of wearing can be heard. Boxes of dull knives have littered the floor, and Myung-woo is still grinding knives at this hour. Counting that, he's already completely sharpened 9,980 blades. Wow, 20 more knives to sharpen, and you're done. Myung-woo. Myung-woo sadly smiles and slams a fist on the table. He leans on the table with both hands, feeling all pathetic at how nothing he does can help. Looking forlorn, Myung-woo thinks about how there was nothing he could do when his friend was in danger. All that he could do at that moment was sharpen kitchen knives. Myung-woo recalls how the guild staff told him he could do nothing, while Yurim looked at him sadly. The staff revealed how they had run a background check on Myung-woo for precautions. The staff lets him know that he has no real history with the hunter Yoojin Han, despite Yoojin's claims that they were old friends. Although, the cat's out of the bag. This revelation shocked Myung-woo, and he says there must have been a mistake. The staff finishes the conversation, saying that they can't leave this matter of the guild master's brother to a complete stranger like Myung-woo. Feeling devastated, Myung-woo sniffles as he repeats how there really was nothing that he could do, and how it turns out that he's just a nobody after all. Now, Myung-woo knows that. He wasn't friends with Yoojin from before. A phone rings with the name Yun on the screen. Yoo-yoon answers the call, and Yoojin screams at how he thinks that Myung-woo is missing again. Yoo-yoon calmly answers that Myung-woo probably stepped out for a bit. Yoojin continues yelling at how Myung-woo ran away because he left a big pot of beef bone stew. Yoo-yoon repeated the food name while Yoojin kept on yelling. Yoojin explains how every Korean mom would make one before they go on a long trip. He then screams his worry that Myung-woo might be taken by bad guys again. Does this mean Myung-woo is really waifu material, since Yoojin compares Myung-woo to a Korean mom? Out in the streets, Myung-woo gloomily walks. He was too ashamed to see Yoojin, that he just left without a word. He remembers once more how the guild staff told him he had no history with Yoojin at all. Now that he is out, Myung-woo has no place to go. Wow, Yoojin's instincts were right. Myung-woo did run away. Myung-woo realizes his shoelaces are untied, and he crouches to fix them. As he did so, all this stuff fell off his bag, while sarcastically thinking this was absolutely perfect. This kind of feels like anything bad that could happen would happen to Myung-woo. Two kids approach him and look at Myung-woo's ID. They were amazed at how this random guy on the street had an access badge to Haeyeon Guild. The girl screams and asks if Myung-woo is a hunter at the Haeyeon Guild, while the boy exclaims his dream of joining the Haeyeon Guild someday. The kids continue to shoot him questions about his rank, the number of dungeons he has cleared, the guild master, and the guild master's skills. The shouting of the kids causes a commotion, and people around them start murmuring. This got Myung-woo all flustered, but he mustered up the courage to admit that he had just cooked and cleaned at the Haeyeon dormitory, while crying tears of embarrassment. This got the kids down, but they still asked Myung-woo some questions. The boy asks if he is not unawakened, while the girl asks what skills he has. Myung-woo weakly answers that he is an awakened, and that his skill is an F-rank equipment buff. The kids then bluntly comment that his skill is lame. Even kids are harsh these days. Sorry Myung-woo, but the truth really hurts. The kids continue. The boy mentions how his mom said F-rankers are useless, while the girl agrees that they can't go on dungeon raids or even make real money. They kept talking trash about F-rankers, literally stabbing Myung-woo with their words alone. Myung-woo thinks that even kids know he is worthless and has no future. He considers that even if he gets the skill from sharpening thousands of knives, he will get a garbage skill in the end. He imagines how the Haeyeon's guild master would say Myung-woo won't be able to contribute anything, and Yoojin would agree to this. Like a wife being left by her husband, Myung-woo would be on the floor as he reached out for Yoojin. Yoojin would smile at him, apologizing for not realizing he was worthless, and proclaiming that he shouldn't have taken him in. And Myung-woo will be left all alone, trying to reach out. Yoojin's daydreaming must have rubbed off on Myung-woo, but his insights despair. Myung-woo bursts into tears in the middle of the street, with his stuff still lying on the ground. The kids are surprised by this, and the boy asks why he's crying. Myung-woo admits that he has no future. The girl scolds the boy for making the older man cry, and the boy suggests that they should help him. The boy pulls on Myung-woo, claiming that they know a little trick. They tell Myung-woo to come with them, and they will be helping him get an incredible skill. Myung-woo comes along and finds out what the kids mean. The kids dunked his face in the water numerous times and got shoved from a ledge. The kids kept pulling Myung-woo to other places, as he pondered how this was more like hazing. Myung-woo accepts how much of a loser he is, because he is getting bullied by kids. I wouldn't really say he is a loser. His personality is really just foolish and timid. They reached an 8-lane road, and the kids suggest to walk through it. Vehicles were zooming by, and Myung-woo was so shocked by the suggestion. The boy plans to show how it is done, but Myung-woo immediately pulls the kid back. The kid complains about almost getting killed by Myung-woo, but he scolds that they should not do dangerous things like this. That's right, Myung-woo, teach those kids. Their sense of danger is warped. The girl claims they were trying to help him, since new skills can be unlocked when one is in danger. She states that this method is how he can get extraordinary combat skills. Myung-woo thinks back to how he became an awakened. This confirms the girl's thoughts, but Myung-woo mulls over it. He asks the children if this is what they have been doing daily, and the kids admit that it is the least they can do if they want to be hunters. Myung-woo tries to dissuade them, saying that they should just focus on their studies. The boy asks what good it will do, when everyone knows that good grades won't help earn money. The girl nods to this as they say how becoming a combat class hunter is the best. Myung-woo is flabbergasted at this. He thinks it is the same old pattern, but this time, instead of good grades, they are being pushed by society to become hunters. Indeed, it's man versus society. They suddenly hear the sound of a siren. There was an announcement of a dungeon break, and it urged everyone to evacuate to the nearest shelter. The dungeon break happened near where Myung-woo and the kids were. The kids run off, excited that this could be their chance to awaken. Myung-woo chases after them, as other people run in the opposite direction. Coming out of the red portal is a humongous purple spider. It feels like I just raised a flag when I mentioned before how anything bad that could happen would happen to Myung-woo. My bad. A helicopter hovers above the dungeon break, and a reporter announces how spider webs have covered city blocks. The giant spider-like monsters came out from it because the portal was located in a local strip mall. The portal was left untouched until the outbreak. The cameraman was shocked to find kids and a man running near the dungeon break. And then they reported how there were still some civilians below. The people that the cameraman just recorded were Myung-woo and the kids. They were running away from the spiders. They saw people who were covered entirely with webs as they ran. Myung-woo cries about how they shouldn't have gone there, while the boy also cries, claiming he's scared. Well, it is too late now. The girl is also frightened, but tells the two to be brave. A spider catches up to them, and Myung-woo and the boy cry, as they scream for help. The girl steps before them and tells them to step aside. With a furious face, the girl says she's unleashing her super secret ultra special move, the S-rank super majestic power fist. She's pretty brave. It's like we are watching a younger version of Yerim. The spider looks at her blankly, then attacks her. She crashes with a thud. Myung-woo and the boy asked if she was okay. The girl looks at her hands, red in the face with disappointment. The spider looms over her, but she is still shocked as she looks at her hands. Oh, I think she got a bad one. The spider goes in for another attack, but Myung-woo carries the girl and pulls the boy to the stairs. Myung-woo tells them to get onto the rooftop and ask for help. The boy looks at Myung-woo, who is carrying the other kid, and asks if Myung-woo is alright in carrying her. Myung-woo huffs and wheezes as they run up, making it hard for him to say he has no choice. Myung-woo needs to pay to win like Yoojin, so he will be sturdier somehow. The girl mumbles by his shoulder, saying they should just leave her, since there is no point. She cries as she reveals how she got her awakening and is ranked F. Myung-woo is confused, as the boy shouts for them to watch out because the monster has caught up to them. Shoot, I really am raising flags whenever I mention the word bad. The spider scurries over, and Myung-woo shouts to hurry and get up. His legs are trembling now due to exertion, and the girl yells to be left there, since it is her fault. She knows that Myung-woo can run without carrying her. She admonishes herself for being an F-ranker and how she is not worth saving. She shouts to be left there. Her personality instantly turned from a Yerim to a Myung-woo in a short time. Myung-woo plops her down and takes his sharpened dagger from his bag. He takes a stance a few steps below them with his hands trembling. Myung-woo looks back at them. He was crying with a wobbly smile. He claims he will hold the monsters off, so the kids should go ahead. The kids disagree, but Myung-woo yells that they are just kids. He starts scolding them about how they shouldn't say things like being a failure or wishing to be left behind when they still got their lives ahead of them. He lectures them that there are many things they could choose to live for, and that every life is worth living. Myung-woo feels like he is possessed by Yoojin's spirit when he lectures. Myung-woo once again tells them to hurry up and get help for him. He reminds them to help each other run as fast as possible and yells for them to go. The boy helps the girl go up, and the girl looks back, saying he shouldn't die, since they will return for him. Myung-woo cries, wishing it was that easy to stay with the living. He knows he has no chance against the giant spider, but still runs toward it. He got worked up hearing how the girl gave up. With a flick of the spider, Myung-woo gets tossed away like paper. Well, that was expected. Myung-woo shatters through a window. He falls from a great height, as he thinks nothing ever works for him. He thinks of Yoojin and thanks his friend in his heart. Myung-woo opens his eyes and sees Yoojin running along the building toward him. Myung-woo believes he is getting visions of Yoojin now that he is about to meet his end. Yoojin was already near him, and Myung-woo was thankful that Yoojin was coming to say goodbye. Yoojin reaches out his hand and yells at Myung-woo to take his hand immediately. Myung-woo was shocked at his vision of Yoojin talking. With tears in his eyes, Myung-woo reaches out to Yoojin. That was close, but Death Flag avoided. Myung-woo really doesn't remember much of what happened after that. Myung-woo was clinging to Yoojin, as Yoojin fought off the monster using the tentacles coming out from his back. Myung-woo was so confused and shocked at the same time. Yoojin runs off as he carries Myung-woo princess style. This makes me think Myung-woo is the waifu, but then again, Yoojin also carried Yoojin princess style. Myung-woo asks Yoojin if those are tentacles coming out from his back. Yoojin wonders what he should do, but claims that Myung-woo is probably just seeing things. He tells Myung-woo not to worry about it. Myung-woo shouts at Yoojin, saying that there is no way he can't worry about it. Myung-woo kept asking if it was a new skill or if Yoojin always had them. He was about to spout more questions, but Yoojin just whacked him, saying that Myung-woo should just sleep. And that is the last thing Myung-woo remembered. Maybe Yoojin should call on Uncle from another world and have him use Iculus Korra on Myung-woo. Myung-woo wakes up from his sleep and realizes he is at the guild dorm. The news is on the TV, reporting how children were saved from the dungeon break. Myung-woo watches closely, shouting that it wasn't a dream, and he starts wondering how he got to the dorm. Someone comes up behind Myung-woo and asks if he's finally awake. Myung-woo looks back and finds Yoojin behind him. Yoojin is carrying a tray with a small pot as he sternly looks down at Myung-woo. Myung-woo asks if Yoojin saved him, and he swears that he saw those tentacles behind Yoojin's back. Yoojin puts the tray on the table and asks Myung-woo what kind of dream he has. Yoojin lets Myung-woo know that hunters from Haiyan Guild got him out of that mess. That's it. Yoojin, you must obtain a skill that can erase memories if you can't get Uncle's help. Myung-woo was confused and said that was not how he remembered it. Yoojin yanks on Myung-woo's collar and starts scolding him for roaming around at dungeon break. Yoojin shakes on Myung-woo as he says how lucky he was that a TV channel got him on camera or he would be long gone. Myung-woo gets dizzy from the shaking, but he still apologizes to Yoojin. This is probably Yoojin's method of changing the subject, but he is also worried a lot about Myung-woo. Still angry, Yoojin tells Myung-woo to not run off on his own like that. What happened made Yoojin worried that he might never see Myung-woo ever again. Myung-woo feels wretched for worrying his friend, and tears start to trickle down from his face, shocking Yoojin. Yoojin was so surprised and worried that he asked Myung-woo if he was hurt, and if he should get a healer for him. Myung-woo wipes his tears, feeling that Yoojin's worrying put him at ease. Myung-woo is calm now and musters up the courage to say what he really wants. He asks Yoojin if it would be okay to remain friends with him, even if he gets a useless skill after completing the grinding task of 10,000 knives. Myung-woo, we will never know unless you get to grinding those 20 knives left. Yoojin has a blank face at first, but then Yoojin gets furious, learning that this is actually what Myung-woo was worried about. He admonishes Myung-woo for getting cold feet when Yoojin already knows that Myung-woo got an offer to work full-time at the armory. Yoojin calms down from getting angry and holds onto Myung-woo's shoulders with both hands. Affected by Myung-woo's courage to speak up, he decides to admit that he is the one who should beg Myung-woo to stay since he really loves Myung-woo's cooking. Feeling shy, Yoojin asks if Myung-woo can still come over and cook for him if Myung-woo's not busy. He promises to not be picky with the food and even pay Myung-woo for cooking. He even admits how it would be better if Myung-woo kept on living with him. It makes me curious how great Myung-woo's cooking is. Hearing this from Yoojin made Myung-woo so happy. He tells Yoojin to request anything, and he will make it for him. Myung-woo decides to go back to the armory and finish grinding the rest. He ties up his hair and sets up the grinding stone. He grinds knives at a regular pace. He remembered how he awakened and unlocked his first skill, called Grindstone, in a dark, small, messy room. He was hopeless at that point in his life. This is a flashback, people. When he got his subsidy of 1 million won, around $750, Myung-woo was told by the staff that it would be better for Myung-woo to look for other jobs, instead of being a hunter. Hearing this only affirms how awakening didn't change anything in his life. On that day, he left the KHA registration center looking desolate as he thought about how the money would go to paying off rent and loans. He doesn't have any high hopes despite his awakening. He walks away from the crowd surrounding the high-rank hunter while feeling depressed. He was mulling over how life had thrown him so many rocks when his left arm was suddenly grabbed out of nowhere. It was then that his dull life gained a new color. Myung-woo met Yoojin. Myung-woo was uncertain and anxious, while also feeling grateful for getting help from Yoojin. He compares how he is nothing compared to Yoojin, Yoon, or Yerim. Despite grinding all those knives, he doesn't even hope to get a useful skill out of it. But when he heard such things from a young girl, he realized how wrong he had been for thinking and doing those things. He finally understands how Yoojin never judged him for his rank or even forced him to do things he wasn't suitable for. Yoojin has simply supported him and lets him do the things he was best at, and Yoojin does all these by cheering him on. Myung-woo may have lost all hope, but Yoojin kept believing in Myung-woo. Gurren Lagann vibes right here. Myung-woo finally understands that he doesn't need to feel down or insecure. Myung-woo continues to work on the knives, thinking that he would stop worrying because he already knows the path that he must take. He picks up another dull knife, and the system shows that he has already completed 9,997 of the required 10,000 knives. Myung-woo continues to mull over things as the counter increases, 9,998. Myung-woo has decided to do his best no matter how different his strength is from Yoojin and Yerim. 9,999. Myung-woo is determined that he will pay Yoojin back in his own way. 10,000. Myung-woo completed sharpening the last knife. Tears drip from his eyes as he sees the new skill he has unlocked. The system announces that Myung-woo has opened the SS rank skill called Master of the Golden Smithy. Finally,